So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Welcome to the Build with Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. And we believe the key to scaling and compounding your wealth and life starts every single day with the mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal is to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more all the way to help MVPs, the most vulnerable people. My name is Brett Swarts, and each episode we're joined with some of the world's top entrepreneurs, millionaires, and billionaires to share their stories and insights and wisdom with us so we can all level up and make a bigger impact. I'm excited about our next guest. In fact, He's a awesome client of mine out of the great state of California, in the Clovis, Fresno area, where actually my mom, my grandmother were kind of originally from, so it's kind of cool with the roots. And he's an entrepreneur who built a business and had a nice exit. And we're going to be talking about that story today and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, Mr. Mike Ondays. How you doing, Mike?
Hi, fine. Thanks, Brett.
And for our listeners to get to know you for the first time, Mike, maybe you can tell a little bit about your story and a little bit about your focus now, and then we can kind of dive into your journey to the Deferred Sales Trust with our company.
I after being in the Air Force for 4 years, I got out and I wasn't sure what I was going to do, so I got back into the cabinet making field because that was my passion, was woodworking. So I worked then in the cabinet making field for a long time, installing. Then I moved into the more of the management side and worked for larger companies, and this wasn't going where I wanted it to go long term. So I had an opportunity to buy into a franchise that was related to that business. It's Closets by Design. So after about a year of back and forth and each of us feeling each other out, we went for it. And so I spent the next 10 years building that business up. I started the franchise in the Fresno area, so it was just me and a secretary at first, and took about 10 years to build up to 25 employees. And then felt like it was the right time to take the exit and see if I could sell it. And I was successful in selling it, and that's where Brett came in on that exit part of it, which really helped a lot.
Awesome. Let's dive into the Air Force part. That's really cool. Your background. You grew up in San Jose originally, right before the show. We were talking about that, and then you went to the Air Force, and then landed in Fresno and started to do the cabinet business. What was the Air Force like? And were you on your way to be Tom Cruise, Maverick, flying the jets, or what part of the Air Force did you do?
No, I was enlisted, so I loaded the bombs on the airplanes for the pilots. So I spent 4 years doing that, but I actually loved it. It was an awesome experience. I went in right out of high school. I knew at the time I wasn't ready for college and wanted to do something different, so I did. And yeah, I was 19 years old and spent my first year overseas in Korea. Got to go to the Philippines and Japan when I was there. So it was just an awesome experience for a 19, 20-year-old. And then I moved back to California when I was stationed at Castle. And that's how I got back home and into that area. So I worked on the A-10s over in Korea, and then the B-52s here at Castle.
Wow. Thank you for your service. And what is maybe the top, one or two things you learned about being in the Air Force, Mike?
It's just discipline, mostly in every aspect of your life. And I'm on the side that I think if you don't go to college, you should definitely have to go into the military for a short time, even if it's a couple of years.
Yeah.
It'll never be wasted time. You're always going to learn, and just to be able to focus on things and just get jobs done.
I love it. And I mean that you're an entrepreneur. It's interesting, right? Because college even these days, a lot of folks are moving more straight to the trades, into the getting training in the trades versus college and college debt. Changing of AI, and I think you're way ahead of your time just to go directly into military, right? Which I think is smart versus obviously not not doing it, right? So that's big. That's a big deal. So 4 years into that, and then you get out, and then talk to us about getting into the trades of cabinetry and such, and what was meaningful, and what did you like about that?
Yeah, so after I got out of the Air Force, like I said, I spent some time doing odd jobs for about a year, and then just decided I need to follow my passion in woodworking. Knew at the time I wasn't going to get probably rich doing that in that field, just working in it. But I just did my time and learned a lot. I went my only schooling is a certificate in cabinet making. That's what I got when I got out. And down in Long Beach, California, they had a certificate program, and that was the extent. I did some junior college stuff, so I took a very different route to being a business owner than most. All my peers, other owners at Closets by Design, were came from a totally different avenue. Most of them were professionals and you know master's degrees and all that stuff. And here I am, just basically a cabinet maker. But but it definitely worked out. So
That's really neat. And so you moved and took the jump and bought into the franchise, and talk us about the journey of building it. You said from you and your secretary to about 25 employees in 10 years. That's pretty awesome. How many cities or areas did you expand out of Fresno area?
yeah, well, my territory included. I don't know if you're familiar with the area, but uh, the Madera area, into Merced a little bit, and then down to Tulare, Visalia area, and then towards the coast, the Los Banos. So I wasn't able to go into the Bay Area. It was interesting, the market that opened up for me, which is another interesting story, but it was just the Central Valley. Everything else in California was corporate controlled, corporate owned. They did the LA area, the Bay Area, the coast. So there was just this one small area in the center that didn't make sense for them to service. So they opened up a franchise. And then the rest of the country is franchised. So I was the only franchise in California, and probably will be the only one there.
Wow. Oh, that's fascinating. And that's neat. So you got in at a good time in a spot that wasn't they weren't able to service corporately or didn't want to or whatever. And
Yeah.
then you jumped in and kind of rode the wave for a 10-year run. And so walk us through just the moment that you knew, okay, now I think I want to potentially exit, and I'm ready to get paid. And you start looking at that, capital gains tax, California, and the federal tax, and adding those numbers up. Take us to that moment of what did that feel like?
Yeah, it was a process. We were looking to sell for a little while and never knowing what the right timing was. COVID was a blessing for me. Our industry, our niche industry specifically, uh, got a big boost during COVID. We did a lot of home offices and garages, storage areas, and people were at home and they needed all that stuff. So it actually helped us. So we had a couple of good years in a row that built us up to a point where it did make sense to sell, that I could get the return on it, um, put it up for sale. And then, but the nagging thing in the back of my mind was the taxes, 30, 40, 50% of the sale is going to just go away. Am I going to be able to survive on what's left? And probably not. I probably wouldn't have pulled the trigger whether if it wasn't for your system and the Deferred Sales Trust. That totally changed the outlook.
Yeah, it really sounds like you got some time back in the sense of not only timing because COVID, you had a couple years to get that momentum to boost the
Yeah,
EBITDA, right? But also you get a chance to sell at a price in the given marketplace and be able to defer the tax. You didn't have to continue to try to build it. And I think
yeah,
hindsight is kind of 2020. Being the interest rates obviously have jumped quite a bit, and perhaps I don't know. You talking about the industry. Maybe it's slowed down, maybe not, but it seems like you might have had some good instincts about selling at the time that you did, given the conditions of the marketplace right now. What do you think?
yeah. No, I think so. The new owner that took it over is doing a great job. He's a good guy. he's expanded into a couple of different areas that corporate allowed him to go a little bit farther, but he's actually not making any more money. He's spending more because now he has to advertise in those areas. So there's that growth period that I I, I knew that was the next step, was to try to do that, and I wasn't ready. I didn't want to do that again. That another huge growth with the negative cash flow for a little while it's building up. Um, so yeah, but he's doing great. He'll be fine. It's just going to take a little while to come
Yeah.
back. He's making about the same as I was now, but spending more. So
Yeah.
it'll work out
Yeah,
for
it's
him.
time to harvest, time, different things. But I think you have some good
Yeah,
instincts on that, just with that. And we're speaking with Mike Andes, by the way, and he closet by design. He had an exit and was facing massive capital gains taxes, and he was able to use our services here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions to defer that tax and compound and start to live off the cash flow and let that work for you. So now take us to the moment where you learned about our service, Mike, and for the first time, folks out there who are listening, they might have the same questions that I think you would had, and most of our clients before they become clients have. It's like, hey, I had never heard of this, and seems too good to be true, or my CPA didn't know about it. And can you really defer this tax and then have an extra 20, 30, 40, 50% more working for you on this installment sale trust structure? Walk us through a little bit of that discovery phase of meeting us and understanding the strategy and how it can work for you.
yeah. It was my bookkeeper actually was the one that told me about it. We were talking about the situation and the exit, and the taxes, and she her name was Cindy Letticott. Just give her the plug there. Um, she had been to a seminar of yours, Brett, and she just remembered, about that system. She was intrigued by it. She didn't know a whole lot about it other than, it's an option for selling a business. So she brought up that information again and handed it over to me, and I got in contact with you, and that's how it went. I would have had no idea about this, option if it wasn't for her, and she wouldn't have known if she didn't go to that seminar. I don't know where the seminar was or how long ago, um, but it worked.
Yeah, well, that's really neat. I'm glad to hear that, because you never know in these seminars when you go to them and you speak to, sometimes I'd speak to 5 folks and sometimes it's 25, sometimes it's 50. And you walk out of there, you're like, okay, I wonder what seeds that you planted will actually harvest and help somebody. And this is the harvest of that, which is really neat. So thank you, Cindy, for remembering and sharing the information. What's interesting about this, Mike, you worked for 10 years to build this, blood, sweat, and tears, and you pour everything into it. I mean, to think that 20, 30, or 50% of it is going to be crushed by capital gains tax on the gain. It's interesting that if you could just spend, I could say, about 5 hours with us, 1 hour on a like a discovery call, 1 hour on a legal call, maybe an hour interviewing some of our clients, testimonials, maybe an hour in an investment strategy call, and then basically another hour to maybe kind of close it. The attorneys work in the background to do a lot of the stuff in the background. But to think about that, after spending, let's call it 10,000 hours maybe that you did over all the years of the blood, sweat, and tears, and you have an extra 20, 30, 40, 50% more working for you. It's just, this slight edge of the compounding effect of this that I think is just so meaningful. So walk us to that moment. And as soon as you say, okay, I can defer this tax, there's a third-party trustee, working with a financial advisor, right, that we connected with, we kind of build this team. Did you have any concerns or what did you have to overcome? I'm trying to pull out anything that could help someone who might be in your shoes, who is hearing this. Do you remember anything that kind of was like a concern you had to make sure you understood, or walk us through that?
Well, like you said earlier, it sounds too good to be true, kind of thing. So you're like, is this real? There was concerns about the legality of it. Is like, okay, am I doing something shady? I don't want to be getting in trouble 10 years down the road, and now I owe all this money to the feds or whoever. But you definitely walked me through that and gave me comfort in that. So it wasn't really hard for me to make that final decision once I understood it. The process, at first, it sounded very complicated, and it was like, okay, and it probably is behind the scenes. It's complicated, but the theory behind it and the process, it's very simple. I mean, once it clicked and I understood. Okay, this is what we're doing. We're just taking this money and rolling it into a trust, and don't have to pay money on that until you take it out. That's that. It made sense, and it's simple, and it's not you can definitely did a good job at explaining the legalities of it, and that it's been tested and never been reversed or anything like that. So that was it, but it didn't
Yeah.
it didn't take long. But the initial question is like, yeah, this is too good to be true, but it's not.
Yep. No, I appreciate
Yeah,
that. If you want to learn more, you go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. If you're listening to this, capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Download our free ebook. Either schedule a one-on-one consultation, no cost, no obligation consultation with one of my team members to see if it could be a good fit for you. It just works for businesses, Bitcoin, real estate, anything that you're selling. It's highly appreciated and has massive capital gains tax. We can help you. Okay, great. So you get comfortable with the strategy, the legality. You're excited that you can defer the tax, and then you're walking through. And then we work with your team to close it. I think that was pretty seamless. That wasn't really any hiccups there. We weaved right into the contract, right into your guys' negotiations. So we didn't hold that up at all. I think it was one of the more smoother transactions that I can remember. So now it's been a couple of years now, right? So talked a little bit about post close and working with us, and we help you to report it with your CPA. Work through some of those details. Depending if you have an S corp or C corp LLC, what you're selling, those could be a little bit of some complexities there. But overall, how are you feeling now that it's been a few years now?
yeah, no, it's been good. I deferred taking any draws on it, I think, for the first year plus, and then we turned that on. I can't even remember. I think beginning of 25 is when we turned it on, and
Sounds right.
yeah, and that's been going. It's been going smooth. It's just uh, the coordination, the communication is good with the different investments. You suggest a lot of good options for me as far as where to invest that money. I'm happy with the way those are performing, and yeah, I look forward to doing more as you just recently given me another option that I need to look into. So those are all good, and there hasn't been any issues with the payments. They just come in the bank every month. So I appreciate that.
Yep. Yeah, pretty simple,
Yeah,
and it's pretty
yeah,
easy to report all the payments, and then you get a 1099 for the payments in a given year, and
yeah.
it's pretty simple stuff. So I get this is another question. So if you had a scale of 1 to 10, Mike, and 10 being like the highest and 1 being the lowest, how likely would you be to be able to recommend our services to a friend or family member?
Oh, definitely a 10. Yeah, I don't have any reservations there, and I know I can see how you're constantly wanting to improve. There might be some things. There's always things in every business that you need to work on, and if you think you're there, you're never there. You should always be working to improve, and you do. So, and I appreciate that. With whether it be with that smart sheet and what alternatives there might be, or anything else. You have the videos with the clients that you ask for their feedback on and how you could be doing things better. So that's all you can ask for. I mean, nobody's perfect. No company's perfect, but you strive to be that. So that's good.
Thank you. That's great feedback. Yeah, that's one of our core values. That every day and every way we get a little bit better. And the best way to do that is to ask directly, questions and get feedback from amazing clients like yourself who ran successful businesses. Right? What better way to improve when you have clients like yourself, Mike? So I appreciate that. What else would you want to share with anyone who's considering, working with Capital Gains Tax Solutions, working with me as a trustee, working with the Deferred Sales Trust? Anything else you think that might be helpful before we go to the lightning round?
No, just trust your gut on it. I mean, that's the thing. It's not too good to be true, but do your due diligence. Check them out. You can. I guarantee you're not going to find anything there that's alarming. But yeah, just um, do your due diligence and then follow your instincts.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. And again, if anyone wants to learn more or get started right now, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And so let's go to the lightning round, Mike. Here we go. So knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self, you're in the Air Force, right? Maybe you're on that aircraft carrier or maybe wherever you were at, right? What's
Yeah.
the one golden nugget you make sure to tell yourself to do?
Enjoy the moment. Don't be stressed about life. You're young. You don't have any clue what's going on. Just live your life, enjoy it, and don't worry at that at that age.
I love it. I love it. Question number 2: is there maybe a book that you would recommend or gifted the most in the past year, or one that kind of comes to mind that you really like to share?
Ah, a book, Pilgrim's Progress.
Yeah.
That's just it's just a good life story, how to follow Christ and the different ups and downs that you have to go through in life. And I don't know, it's just a pretty impactful book.
Awesome. Let's check that one out. Question number 3: what are you most curious about right now?
Curious. Ah, what the next 10 years will look like. I've got a lot of things, irons in the fire, and might be buying property and building a house and just that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Next question. Maybe the top way that you're using ChatGPT or AI or anything kind of come to mind there.
Yeah, I'm on the other end of that. I'm trying to avoid that as long as I can. To me, it's a little bit scary, but I know it's not going anywhere, and I'm trying to come to grips with that. But
Uh-huh.
so I don't actually use that at all right now.
It's a good answer. It's a good answer. Yeah, yeah, you're right. It's a good answer. So, next question. Maybe favorite leadership quote or leadership theme that you strive to live by.
Leadership thing. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now on that.
It's okay. It could be from the Air Force. It could be from the Closet by Design
Yeah.
days. Any themes, any core values, any thing that you're like, hey, this has helped me to be a better leader. That you could help anyone who's listening today.
Well, this one comes from the Bible too. Be slow to speak. That
Uh-huh.
one is just, sometimes you can get ahead of yourself and you say things that maybe you shouldn't have, or wrong timing. So just being slow to speak, quick to hear, um, is something I have to remind myself about, whether it's in business or my personal life.
Amen to that. I could absolutely agree, and it relates to that. Awesome, Mike. And then the very last question, and we'll wrap it up the podcast here. And I just want to thank you again for being a client, being trusting us to be able to help you steward the capital and defer the tax and multiply the wealth and just being such being an entrepreneur, right? I'm from California, and it's just seeing what you built and being able to exit it. I think that's just really neat, and I'm just grateful to be a part of it, a small part of the exit. So it is the last question. Like, how do you best keep a mindset of staying disciplined, a mindset of being a steward, and staying centered in your core values? Is there any kind of habit or discipline that you try to practice that helps you stay moving in the good direction?
I Honestly, I just like to stay positive. I'm a glass half full kind of guy, and I like to see the positives in people, and not focus on the negatives. And that just keeps me balanced, keeps me from getting uh, over analytical or frustrated about things. I just try to do it that way, and it makes me feel better. So
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Staying positive, choosing a positive attitude, staying grateful, seeing the things that are the glass half full rather than half empty. I think that's a key thing here. Well, Michael, again, I want to thank you for being on the show, being on the podcast, and sharing your story. Thank you so much. And I'm also going to thank all of my listeners for listening or watching another episode of the Built to Billions podcast. We're also streaming and also recording the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast and YouTube channels. You can find those and subscribe to those on YouTube or any of the podcasts that you're listening to. And we're on this journey with you to scale from millions to billions so we get more all the way to help MVPs, the most vulnerable people. I hope you had a chance to really hear from Mike today about his exit of a business in California where he's able to defer the tax, multiply his wealth. And we want to encourage you to consider the same if you're looking at the Deferred Sales Trust, looking at Capital Gains Tax Solutions. looking at us to be a trustee to help you with that. We look forward to the opportunity. And please share this with somebody who owns a business and might be exiting that you can help. They can also own real estate or Bitcoin or anything else that's highly appreciated. And just remind everyone, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. You can also check out the best-selling book that we have. It's called Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. In about 5 hours, you can build it with us before the close of escrow to defer and compound 20, 30, 40, 50% more of the proceeds by using a trust with an installment sale with our team. You can check out the book by going to Amazon or just go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, and it's called Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. Appreciate everyone listening and watching out there, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye now.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.